Oh, damn
It's
it!
the
Why is it?
Jamie Joker dance. It feels nice, doesn't it?
Oh man, I knew it looked familiar. Oh, that's too funny. Yeah,
Can you just do it for a couple of minutes?
that is
Just
my
get into
Joker
it.
dance. That's his transformation into the butterfly. Did you love that? My review of the movie?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I just did not want to watch that film. I thought I'm going to get dragged into this. And I was just like, I don't even want to watch it. I've seen the trailer. I don't like the look of it.
I
None
didn't
of it makes
either.
any sense.
But you know what the thing is I
It
think
looks
with
depressing. It just looks like normalizing violence because you're retarded. Like, he couldn't make it into comedy, could he? Because
yeah,
he isn't funny.
yeah. Um yeah, that movie, I'll tell you, I didn't want to really see it either, but I have this thing that it's like I have an aversion to hype. Like if something is too overhyped and there's too much anticipation, I have an like I just don't like I felt like that with Black Panther and I was genuinely surprised. Black Panther was pretty good. Um but I thought it was great because I think Kevin, who's a usual watcher of the videos, he had come out and said that he thought my review of Joker was one of the like I think he said he thought it was like the most honest one he had seen.
It's a masterpiece, Jamie. It is maybe one of the best films in the last 10 years. I mean, it's original. It just speaks to so many people. The artistic, the mental illness. I mean, linked to Batman. I mean, what
Right?
else do you need?
Pretty much. There used to be a way in this program that I could see the chat window.
I watched Terminator Retirement Day.
You saw the new Terminator?
Yeah, don't watch it.
Oh man, you took that one for the team.
I turned it off. So I didn't even take it to the team.
Oh
I got
man.
so sickened by it. I just like, fuck all you guys. Just watch Terminator 2. That's my advice. Terminator 2 is one of the best films of all time. There's just
Yeah.
no need to ruin it. It's fucking weird. None of it made sense. I just turned it off. So how have you been for the last couple of weeks? It's been ages, hasn't it?
Yeah.
How
Um
long has it been? Like 2 or 3 months?
yeah, I mean I don't know. I've been working a lot. That's really all I've been doing. Oh god,
What are you
never.
doing now then? See? What are you doing now for work?
Well, I am still at the juice bar restaurant cafe thing during the days. Then I'm working for a supplement company that also has a CBD shop, so sometimes I fill in there. And then other than that, oh, is this here we go? Okay, add. Where's my chat thing? Media source, image, scene,
Yeah,
caption,
well, it's not
window.
like a podcast, guys. Just to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah, come up with
Um
something. I got some plans, some ideas. I can throw them out there about what we should do. They're controversial ideas, guys, but they make sense. So yeah, what about the CBD? Are they doing like flowers or just like products?
No, we've got flour, tinctures and a whole bunch of stuff.
So you do CBD flowers so you can smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's kind of that was popular here for a while,
Wow.
but it's kind of not on. They kind of allow it, don't allow it.
Maybe we should not broadcast as often because we have one person watching on Twitch, one watching on Good Game, two on YouTube, and one on Facebook. We got people watching
Yeah.
across all platforms. I mean, granted, it's only
Oh,
a
nice.
handful of people, but we've only been going for a few minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing I want to say on CBD very quick, it could be an interesting place for UK because obviously THC flowers is illegal. So if you're selling CBD weed, which is like has to be like under 1% THC, if you just punt out weed at 20% THC, saying it's CBD only, you're not breaking the law anymore. You're breaking like a regulation. So like people just started just selling normal fucking weed out the door. and going, oh, more mistake. Oh, mistake. Because do you get what I mean? It's not like a black market anymore. It's like
Yeah.
selling flower bud. You can just go, oh, like the THC weed must have just got in there somehow. So they just have no more. Yeah, I've gone heavy with the weed. Like, you gotta remember it's illegal here, guys. So I've got like so much stuff. I've got Snoop Dogg's Amnesia mixed with the lemon. I've got some Bruce Banner times OG, some Gavera OG, Star Dog, which is like the UK strain, the Star Dog at the moment, has been for a while. Got some strawberry shortcake, some strawberry cookies, got some lemon ice, just some standard, really grown Northern Lights, really strong. What else have I got? I got some cherry pie. So, like, I've literally got like a fucking coffee shop, dude, in my fucking house. It's really nice.
Nah.
Having lots of different strains and like I reckon my collection's better than most Amsterdam coffee shops. I reckon, and I've spent way too much on it, but hopefully it'll last. Just buy in bulk. There's a lot of strains, isn't it? That's just like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got the ammo times the AK-47 I'm smoking now. Yeah. You're not into the weed though, are you, so much? Or
Not really. I don't know. I don't really smoke too much anymore. I just don't have time for it. That's the thing.
oh right, yeah. I guess away.
I mean, by the time I get home from work, I'm pretty wiped out anyway, and that's the thing. I would normally smoke to kind of help me,
Wind it down, land the plane.
yeah, land the plane basically. And at this point, I'm just, like I said, wiped out anyway. But yeah, I finally have a day off, which is amazing. Except, you know, because it's my first day off in fucking forever, there's like a million things I want to do. Everything from get my garden in order to cut my hair and all that nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, I go back to work next week. So doing good.
Yeah, I still don't even know actually. What's the new job?
Oh, that didn't last long. It's just
Oh.
a waste of time. Got another one. Yeah, basically in a nutshell, like I'm pretty much unemployable. I don't really fit in the office place very well. Even though no matter how hard I try, how committed I am, how much I just keep my mouth shut, I just don't fucking fit in. As soon as they found out that like I don't think the flat Earth is a stupid argument, they threw me out for it because they just thought I was so dumb. And I was just like, someone asked me like straight, going, "Do you think the Earth is flat, Paul?" I was like, to be honest, I have no fucking idea what it is. No idea.
I'll tell you what, that I honestly I think that's probably like the most respectable answer someone could give. Like, because, you know, even the position Owen Benjamin takes, where it's like, I mean, whether, you know, he's kind of
Owen Benjamin sold me on a lot of stuff. Like I've been fascinated by that guy.
well, and even because, you know, even the way he talks about it,
Hard.
even
Look
even
at his numbers on Google, man. He is fucking smashing it out the park.
I'll tell you what, there, and this is
And everyone's repeating his like. Everybody's like quoting his phrases like crushing.
yeah.
Or stuff like that. I'm just hearing it all over.
Well,
Logos rising being slipped in.
and well, you know what?
Small hats. I'm hearing
Small hats. Yup. Grappler.
It's just non-stop fucking homage to him. Everyone.
Yeah, and you know what the thing?
It's like Fight Club or something.
Well, and you know,
there is all that social shame, and there is.
yeah,
And then I'm just going to say I've been talking to a lot of people in private that I actually respect. I'm like, what do you think about just flat Earth? And quietly, they're like, fucking weird. But I'm not ever going to fucking tell you that.
yeah,
It's fucking weird. And these are like high IQ people.
yeah.
Not dicks.
Well, and because
So I apologise, Jamie, for laughing at you.
well, because
asking where you're going with your life, quoting this crap.
well, because
But
you know
there's
what
a
the
lot.
thing is it's like you,
It's obviously a lie what we're being told.
yeah, what we're being told is a lie. And even the thing is though, is like whenever you'd watch any of these debates, you just sort
I
of,
think the Flat Earth Society is set up just to be a joke. I
yeah,
think there are actually good Flat Earths out there. like Stefani.
Yeah.
But Owen Benjamin's just knocking out the park. Do you see InfoWars covered it? They did like a whole thing on it.
No.
They're not mocking it this time. You know that guy who does the special reports, the really good special reports. He did a report for an hour on Flat Earth.
Well, wait. The guy from was it DIRTH or something like that, or?
No, he works for InfoWars. InfoWars put it out. There's that guy John Rapport or something. He does the really good
Oh
reports.
yeah.
He ripped off everything that Owen Benjamin's been saying for the last 6 months, but put all the videos with it, like all the
Yeah.
history with it.
Well,
And that's InfoWars.
I know
But it
Alex.
is getting big, man. This debate is getting like I can like call it crazy, but it is going off the charts, and it's because of Owen.
I don't
And
remember.
this Christian rising that you was talking about. I think
That's
it's all linked.
Oh, it is.
All
It
linked.
without a doubt it is. Because
It's not about Christianity for me. It's about just for now, just look at everything we've got. It's not true.
well, but
It's not.
here's the thing is, there used to be a saying, live your life by the book, and the book
Yeah.
used to be the Bible. Like, here's an
Not
even.
anymore. It's not. To go by the book means like common fashion, common trends.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
it's been sort of rewritten.
yeah.
Here's the thing though about the sort of like Christian rising thing, because I'll tell you, I was watching Crowder's live stream, and because I knew some of Nick's fans were going to target it, and let me tell you, bravo to Crowder, because he basically passed the test that night. They questioned him on conservatives censoring other conservatives. His answers for that were good. Someone questioned him about, how do you stay pure in this world of porn and drugs and all that. He had good answers for that. But the part that really surprised me is he turned to the crowd and said, how many of you identify as Christians? And I mean, in a quick glance, you would have said the whole room raised their hands. And then he said, how many of you are virgins? Over 90% of the room raised their hands. Now, this is, again, a byproduct of feminism, Me Too, the sort of isolationism of technology, all of that stuff.
It is Satan's playground if you just looked at it.
Yeah,
It
well,
is,
that ties into the bigger point I was going to make, where it's like, Jordan Peterson put out this book, 12 Rules for Life, an Antidote to Chaos. We've always had a book that's an antidote to the chaos, and it's not 12 rules, it's 10 commandments. It's like there is a blueprint. I mean, the thing I really want to get into about this is, you want to talk about people being free and liberated and all that, and we think of that nowadays. Charlie Kirk being asked, why do you support Israel? And his remarks are, well, people can suck each other off in the streets. They have pride parades. That's not liberated. Like, when I see Kanye West do these interviews, that's someone who's liberated. Like,
I'm not going to call him Kanye Pest again.
if we thought he was on
I
some
used to hate
shit,
that guy. I used to call him Kanye Pest now. I'm like, I like it. Yeah, I like him.
yeah, if we thought he was on some shit back when he was doing that slavery is a choice interview, his new interviews, ridiculous. I mean, he has some of the greatest responses to things where, like, he was asked, so when we see you live, are we going to hear just the new Jesus stuff, or are we going to hear some old Kanye mixed in? He said, would you go to an Apple store and ask to see the iPhone 3? Like, and it's like,
Yeah,
bam.
but you're not going to see Prince play Darling Nikki when he was alive.
Yeah.
You're not going to see him do the risque, sexy motherfucker songs or gold nigger because it's not family appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, people change. You're not even going to hear Prince swear on stage for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
No curse, nothing. No sexual. And that's from one guy who was on the complete other side of the pendulum. He was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Whoa."
Humping the floor and all sorts of, crazy shit. Like, Kanye's the same way. And even some of the things
He doesn't even hum his guitar. Even that's like too risque.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, when I listen to Jesus is King, there's a lot of stuff in it that I really like. Like, he has Kenny G on there ripping a saxophone solo. That is too fucking funny. But part of me does wish like there was just a Kanye track. Like I'd settle for a track of him talking about, loving his daughter and how much he wants to raise her right. But I mean, all of it is just like Jesus, Jesus, God, Jesus, the Bible, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I'm like, oh my, all right, Kanye. All right, like,
Yeah, because it's right, because you can't do that. Like, no one else could do it but Kanye, because, like, Christian culture's being shat on. I mean, we could go down a conspiracy road for all these Notre Dame burning down. It's because there's no one in the church defending it. But you're saying Christianity's getting flattened everywhere.
yeah,
More so, especially if you came to the UK. Like, it's pretty an atheist country here, or satanic if you want to call it that.
but
There's not really much God talk or Bible talk. It's
yeah,
just laughed at.
but the
But the
thing,
more, like Owen's right, the more I look to science for answers, it's just like, uh. But if you do look in the Bible, it seems to be a lot more straightforward.
well, yeah, and there's a lot more. I
Logos is what sold it to me when they did the Michael E. Jones and they just explained the philosophy of Logos. To me, as soon as they explained that, it just
it
turned my
clicks.
world upside
Yeah.
down.
Well,
And
and
I only did turn my world upside down. People can go fighting for Western culture. Western culture is Christian culture.
yeah,
Western culture, Christian culture, same thing.
yeah, it is.
I think it's the same
Um,
thing. So.
and here's the other thing though. It's like you gotta look just even at the sort of fundamental underpinnings of it all, where it's like the why are we here? What's going on? Now the Bible gives you a very straightforward. We're here to be, watch over this domain. We're here to, build and grow and
Look
create
after the garden.
and look after the garden and everything like that. Oh man, I have a funny story about that I'll get to in a second. But, and then you look towards science and it's like, oh, we're endless nothingness and a ball
Big
twirling
ball,
through
we're
the
a
yeah.
plague and we're spinning out
Oh
of
yeah,
control
I
and
mean,
everything's
we're
random and
we're a,
everything's
we're
chaotic. Yeah, it's all
I mean,
perfect.
even if you tie together some of the sort of things that we hear that are sort of compartmentalized. I mean, we talk about leftists be one of the things. Remember, I would say this before. The thing that really turned me away from the environmental movement and leftists in general is I started to realize it's a death cult. Like it really is, because they're like,
Did I not predict that way before it happened? Don't you remember that podcast we did? And I said I came across that funeral in town.
yeah,
Nearly got in a punch up with him. That was the logo, the Extinction Rebellion.
yeah,
We were way ahead of the curve on that.
yeah,
They remember me
yeah,
bitching
by
about having
months,
that funeral. They
yeah.
looked like a satanic cult, not environmentalists. And they started crying because I was disturbing their funeral.
Yeah. But
I
it's
didn't
like
realise.
whether it's them saying, we're a scourge on the planet because of
Yeah.
CO2, or saying babies are parasites in
Which
the
just happens
womb,
to be
like
666. CO2.
yeah, it's just all of it is just so anti-life at this point that it's like I don't
How
know.
can 666 keep reoccurring? Like the Earth spins at 666,000 miles per hour on a 66-degree tilt,
Yeah.
66 miles away. It's just like, how many times are they going to throw 666 in my face?
Yeah, or 33, or there's a
Yeah.
handful of numbers that just sort of
Oh,
coincidentally
but
pop up.
Paul,
So
you're
so
not
anyway,
speaking to
let
us.
me
I'm not coming up with these numbers, guys.
let me tell you. So I still
They
do.
wrote sex in the clouds.
I know. That's great.
Like, what do they have to do for you not to accept that NASA's just a joke?
Yeah.
Like the idea of NASA, like I sold it to my mum. I said like, just like this Nazi who said we could never go to the moon by rocket, said it was insane, and this is the greatest rocket engineer of all time. Puts on his gravestone his last message to the world that basically we live in a dome. He
Yeah.
quotes the Bible. That's the last message to his world. The first guy this guy teams up with is sex OTO sex magician wizard Jack Parsons.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird. And then he teams up with Scientology, Ron Hubbard, because that's who you need to get to the moon. And those two are the forefront of technology. Aleister Crowley, apparently, like I'm kind of in secret societies, guys. The toolkit in there is like that. Aleister Crowley was in it. He was like, guys, this is too crazy trying to manipulate the world into space. He's like, I'm out. He said it was like too extreme, this magic. So you got Aleister Crowley, Ron Hubbard, this Nazi born, whatever his name, I always forget his name, and the people that they really want to get on board now is Walt Disney.
Yeah, I
who
know.
has a dome with a tower
Tower of
breaking down.
Babel. Yeah.
Tower of Babel.
I know. That
It's
never
like,
even
guys.
clicked with me that the Disney logo is the dome, like with the tower.
Yeah, the
It's
first one, yeah, as soon as I saw the Pixar thing, like the first thing Pixar did is about snowman trapped in a dome.
well, and
And then they got this massive funding from Disney and
even
they
think
respect
about
this as well.
the thing at Disneyland. Like, what's the other big sign? Like Disney's iconic symbol at Disneyland, the Epcot ball. Like, it's this giant globe thing that it's they're shoving it in everyone's faces
Yeah, and they're
constantly.
literally
Like,
globalists.
yeah. And then the UN logo and stuff. So anyway, here's
The
a quick
UN
little.
logo sold it to me. And also, it's not bullshit, guys. Like they got Christopher Cook and people that went to Antarctica, they couldn't find an entry point into Antarctica. They kept going round and round and round the ice wall, and the size that they went round is the circumference.
Well, and even
Like that did happen all the time.
if you look at even who
You
is
can
it?
read it, and none of their compasses were like where they should be. They were miles and miles off.
Well, and who was the
Basically.
guy? There was a like a Navy or something, an air
Admiral Byrd,
Admiral
Operation
Byrd,
High
yeah,
Jump.
Operation High Jump.
What the hell?
Yeah. Well, and even
He was like Indiana Jones, the American Indiana
well,
Jones.
and there are even plenty of things like because again, here's the thing. Like, I think you're pretty safe to say at this rate, like I sometimes I question if Adobe is a branch of the government, like the company that makes Photoshop and everything like that, because they had voice print technology for like deep fake stuff like 10
Oh,
years
whoa,
ago.
stop. Before I forget, like, we gotta get back on. But deepfake, Hillary did an interview just like 2 nights ago, and she was going, the reason I lost to Trump was because there were these deep web videos, and it had me flashing up doing some nasty stuff. That's not true. Her timeline's wrong,
Yeah,
because that came out
after.
afterwards.
Yeah.
And now she's saying that if she runs, don't be surprised if these Russian bots put up these deep web videos that no one can get or see, but they are there, of me doing some pretty nasty things.
Hmm.
She said that
That's crazy.
2 nights ago. She's going, oh, don't worry if these videos come out of me. There's these deep fakes. It's just like they're just images of me flashing up on some pretty disturbing shit, guys. But it's just Russian bots and this deep fakes. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? Like, like, we all know about Frizzle Drip. Like, I thought it was nonsense, but it wouldn't surprise me if there is this tape. And that came out after the election, not before. And why are you saying, guys, just brace yourself for this deep web tape that's
Well,
out there of
you know what the
that
thing
no one
is?
can get their hands on?
Well,
She said that, guys.
part of
Go check
my
it
thing
out.
is, we're as much as we know the names like Rockefeller, Rothschild, and stuff like that. We're not supposed to know the names of the real people that are running things, basically. And if Hillary has been in the public spotlight and in positions of power for as long as she has, there's videos of her that someone's got some. I mean, hell, Jeffrey Epstein probably had videos of her on Pedo Island. I
Well,
doubt.
Trump's got them, I guess. Someone's got them.
Yeah. So
It's like
quick,
Lord of the Rings. Like, hey, get that
quick,
power. Like, someone else has got all of this blackmail material.
quick story though. As we were mentioning watching The Garden and all of that. So I was at work. I still do a night a week at the mental health place, and
Mention.
there's this guy there. So he comes out. First thing he starts saying is, "My brother works for Interpol in the Ukraine," and I'm like, "Oh God, Ukraine! All right, here we go." And he goes, he's looking for a bad man, a really bad man, who later he revealed his name is Mr. Big Ears. And a part of me really wanted to be like, so is it Joe or Hunter? Joe or Hunter? Which one? Which one is Mr. Big Ears? But so his brother's in Interpol. He's looking for a bad man named Mr. Big Ears, but he's looking in the wrong place. So the brother doesn't know where this guy does, but this guy who's with me at the mental health facility claims he does. So then he's going on talking about all of this stuff. Like, you ever meet someone who's like if they have a high enough, I mean, I guess it's sort of like the Jordan Peterson gamma male thing, where it's like they're good enough at talking in circles and vague enough that they could impress low IQ people. But if you're really
Did I
high,
send you that video where Jordan Peterson's talking about human sacrifice and he gets really fucking over the top into it?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch that. He's like talking to him about how human sacrifice is great, myth, and how it's really great for the human soul. And just saying how it'd be kind of great if we could just bring it back.
Oh my God! We already have the black community offering up their firstborns in a Planned Parenthoods to appease Molech.
You gotta watch it. Just type in Jordan Peterson human sacrifice. I don't know why I googled that. I was like, why wouldn't you? It's like, sure enough.
That's funny. So
I can't do it justice, but he seems to be like selling the idea.
So I'll look it up later.
Hard.
That's too funny. So then he's talking about the Ukraine stuff. Then he's sort of like going on about all this philosophy stuff, and then basically implies that for some reason I haven't. He asked me, are you a Catholic? I said, no, I'm not a Catholic. I'm a Christian. And he said, same thing. I said, no, they're not. And then he says this one thing where he's like, Adam and Eve, they were in the garden and they had the apple, and the apple was all they needed. The apple was all they needed. And I'm looking at him at this point being like, I don't.
Have you not got an Apple computer to bite out the apple?
Yeah. I'm like,
man wants knowledge and they become a god.
Yeah.
And it becomes the downfall of man, and they're putting it in your face.
I know. I'm looking at him being like, I'm looking at him like, no, it was everything else they had that they needed.
600. What was it? 6,666.
Yeah. I'm just looking at him being like, no, everything they needed was everything but the apple. Like, you've got the story completely backwards. Like, everything else was good. The apple was the one thing they weren't supposed to touch. So he's already, got that whole story misconstrued. But then he implies that basically I'm not as intellectually or spiritually advanced and sophisticated as him because I believe in these fairy tales about things you can't see. And I said, so you don't believe in anything you can't see, right? And he goes, yeah, I don't know. I only believe in what I can see with my own eyes. I said, funny.
You didn't bring up gravity, did you?
Well, no, I didn't. I could have, but I might have thrown it in there. But my bigger point was, I said, well, in this very room right now, this little box over here is giving off an invisible data connection to my phone right here, and I can bring up web pages,
Wi-Fi,
and the Wi-Fi. I mean,
broadcasting films in the air.
Yeah, I said it's shooting all sorts of info everywhere. I said, and in fact, if I turned on a radio right now, I'm pretty sure I could dial into certain stations that are all being sent through the air that we can't see. Now, at this point, he's getting angry because he was just belittling me. And then I'm just like, oh, you don't believe things you can't see, do you, buddy? Well, let me tell you some things. Radio, and I was like, oh yeah, and
infrared wasn't a thing like a couple of decades ago.
And that's the thing. I was like, we can take X-rays. There's all sorts of light frequencies we can't see. This and that. I said, there's plenty of things going on that you can't see. I said, and in fact, you're the closed-minded one, thinking that everything you can see is all there is. Like, that's closed-minded to me. So he wasn't very appreciative of that. Then at one point, I tried to just gauge his level of self-awareness, because this is another thing that I always think is funny with people who think they're real smart. So I said to him, I said, listen, man, I said, I don't know if this has crossed your mind at all. I said, but different conversations get interpreted differently in different contexts. And he says, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, I do a podcast with a friend of mine. We talk about conspiracy theories and government stuff and, spirituality and all these different things. I said, and, it's things that interest us. And, in the context of a podcast about that stuff, it's all fine and dandy. I said, but when you're in a mental health facility and you start talking about conspiracy theories about bad men in the Ukraine and, Mr. Big Ears and where he is and no one else does. And then you start talking about spirituality and God and this and that. I said, well, there's a list of conversation topics that if someone just checks off the boxes, by the end of it all, they say, yeah, schizophrenia. I said, and buddy, in the 2 hours we've been talking, you've just, I mean, double checked off those boxes. I said, so you might want to think about where you are when you're talking about these things, because you're going to make yourself look bad to the wrong person. I said, like I said, I find these things interesting, so I'm all cool with bullshitting with you. But if you're around a clinical professional and you start going on about this, they're going to put you in an institute. And he was like, oh, well, they just don't understand this and that. I'm like, no, they do. But there's a context. And it was just, I was just like, get me out of here. Like, it's so funny because as I've gone down to one night a week, it's like I'm getting concentrated doses of stupid. Like, even last night, I got no sleep whatsoever because I'm on the phone half the night with some dude talking about his goddamn herpes outbreak. Like, what do? I don't know. Go to a doctor. Get some meds. I'm not some fucking herpes specialist.
I just think, like, I don't know how people can't see, like, that everywhere you look, it is an occult ritual. It is like initiation to, like, it's just every single Netflix is about it. You got
Yeah.
witches trying to curse Trump every fucking 2 minutes. You got Jennifer Aniston just turns out to be in a witch's cult. It's like every TV program is about the
Well,
occult.
and you know what?
It's just like
And you,
every single political road I've gone down has ended up down the road of the occult. Doesn't
yeah.
matter if it's human trafficking, Epstein ends down the occult pretty quickly.
Well, and
Go
even,
down the road of Hillary Clinton, goes down the road of occult pretty
well, and even
quickly.
the other thing to
Our
think
royal
of,
family, down the
even
occult
the other thing
instantly,
to
just
think of though, that
historically.
that
Like, how can you not,
Kanye.
there's got to be an equal and opposite reaction thing if you're scientific. So surely that would be the Christianity method.
Well, and because even the other thing
Like,
that
how can you not see the birth of Satanism as
the
the new world religion?
the other thing that
Do what thou will. It is do what thou will. Be a trans kid, and it's right. It's just lie after lie after lie. Like a kid can be multiple genders. Climate change.
well, the
It's
other
just
thing
like
that Kanye
nonsense.
brought up, and it does kind of tie
9/11.
into what
All
you're saying
nonsense.
about the
All of it.
occult, is because what was, what's the one of the highest forms of occultism and magic? Ritual sex magic. And Kanye is talking about, it's so amazing the way he sees this, where he's like, I found a Playboy of my father's when I was 5 years old, and from then on, I was a porn addict, and it had influenced my every decision. Like he said, every decision I made,
Yeah, it had to be in every song.
whether it was about every song, every video, all the girls he was with, all that, he said it all ties back to when I found that magazine and stuff. And it's like, wow, thinking about things in those terms, like it's, you could, and even
It's a
like
pretty quick reprogramming. That's just one magazine out of all the stuff we get hit with all the time.
all the time.
All
Yeah,
the time. And it's getting crazier and crazier. Like it's all about, like you said, incest porn. It's got to that now.
I
And like
know.
people talking about fucking bugs is now a thing.
I've seen
Bugs.
videos where they've mentioned it, and I've avoided actually going there because you know how sometimes you're just like, you're like, if I see this, I'm going to just want to remove myself from the planet. Like, I
I think
just
that's the whole point. It's to teach people to learn
demoralize.
self-helplessness.
Yeah, yeah, it's to
That's what Brexit
demoralize
is. I keep
you.
telling people, it's like all I hear about, because Brexit didn't happen on Halloween, guys. Shocker. Shocker. And it's like now everyone gets it in the UK. Like I'm not crazy anymore. It's like everything to do with Boris Johnson, Theresa May, Cameron. It's just bad acting. They couldn't make it into Hollywood. They weren't. They're too ugly, and they're just reading a script. And
Yeah,
the script is Brexit was never on the cards. You've got no control over this country. It's that fake binary. Remain Brexit. Remain Brexit. Fight, 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 fight. It's been 3 years now. We're more in Europe than ever before,
yeah,
and it's just no one can be fucked anymore. So that now we're in deeper than when we started because you just learn self-helplessness. We don't control the country. We can't get someone elected. Everyone's fighting with each other. It's all a mess, and it's just like let's just give up with this. No one's going to go to the ballot box, which means they can just put through whatever they want. The younger generation now, 3 years is quite a long time to get those people in government institutions, the colleges, the schools, to go, hey, socialism's great, and all the youngsters like, yeah, it's so nice and free in socialism, and they're going to get their Labour votes, or in your case, the Democrat vote, or whatever. It's just, guys, it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, who are you going to vote for now? We got like a snap election thing now. It's like, who are you going to vote for, Paul? It's like, no one. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
What about Nigel Farage? It's like, guys, it's been like, Brexit was never on the cards. Never gonna.
I'll tell you what though. With what
has Bilderberg ever come up in an EU debate? Ever?
Yeah.
No. Forget it then.
I'll tell you though. I actually, again, from watching that thing with the Crowder interview and this sort of right wing, sort of purging the bad actors amongst it.
Same thing. So Americans can get Brexit. Trump, Brexit, same thing.
Well, I was going to say is at this point, I'm already looking past Trump. I really think, and I mean, from a left-wing perspective, they should be terrified. Because I think coming up after Trump, we're going to have like a Pence figure. We're going to have someone that's going to be like, I'm going to bring the Bible back to America. Like, I really think what's going to come after, like, I was worried for a while. I thought after Trump, it was just all going to go back to business as usual. I really think we have a chance where the conservative side of things is going to excise these sort of, these people that don't care about it. Like Charlie Kirk. I mean, let's just talk about, did you see the clip of him talking about America?
I saw some guy asking him, hey, you like Israelis? Do you dance with the Israelis?
No, there's this clip, and I mean, he's at some sort of like Zionist conference or something, and he goes on and he makes these remarks where he goes, I'm surprised you didn't see it because Owen riffed on this for a bit where he's like, I love the Grand Canyon and I love Detroit and I love Boston, but America is about ideas. And you could get rid of America and you could put us on an island, and as long as we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, well, that's America. And Israel is the same thing. Israel is about ideas, but Israel is different because there's a holy connection to that land. But really, it's all about ideas. America could not be here anymore. And, as long as we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, it's just, and I mean, it's the sort of Jew grabbler mindset towards America that America is just a contract. Like, it's just a business dealing, and there is no actual country. There are no Americans. It doesn't matter if you're a Mexican that just came here or whatever. Like, we're all just data and widgets to keep the GDP numbers up. Magic soil. Yeah, exactly. And that's why people are really pressing Charlie Kirk. I mean, I knew this was coming because I saw an Ann Coulter interview, and I mean, she is like the godmother of the new right. Because remember, she was the one pushing this whole immigration, demographics, all of that, and she was getting ridiculed for it. Before Tucker was on it, before Nick Fuentes, Owen, or any of them, she has always been ahead of the curve. And half the time she looks crazy because she's so ahead of the curve. But I saw an interview with her where she was the one that coined the phrase conservative Inc. And she said, you have conservative Inc. and they don't care about demographics or who's here and this and that. And, they're the reason why conservatives lose on every issue and this and that. And it's part of why she doesn't get as much speaking gigs or anything like that. Like the Daily Wire and Turning Point and all of them, they don't book her because her positions are in opposition to them. Like, you had Jeremy Boring from the Daily Wire come out and say, in 2019, conservatism is about conserving liberalism. Like, I if you didn't know who these people were, see, I used to say, I'm a conservative, and the thing I want to conserve is the Constitution, the liberal ideas in the Constitution, the old school liberal ideas of freedom of speech. I may disagree with you, but I'll fight for your right to say it. Freedom of property, association.
Maybe just have state laws. Just do it state by state. Go to the state you want that suits you.
Well, and that's how it used to be. it used to be vote with your feet. You know, if there
Yeah.
was a state that didn't, and see
Plenty of land about.
the thing is though is countries can't, or the states can't have that anymore, because look at California. People go to
Yeah.
California, they vote in all these crazy ideas, and then they
Yeah, but
leave once
seriously,
they have
what's
to
going to
live
happen
with
to
it.
California? Oh my God, yeah, California looks scary. It looks like it's on the brink.
Yeah. Well, and that's,
Tank town. I mean, disease is gonna have to break out at some point.
and it's so
And what about
funny.
all the poor? What happened to all the poor kids in the cages? Like no one cares about them anymore. It's
Yeah,
all about
right.
the people now.
Well, you know what's interesting about California is now I feel like, again, to tie it back to our sort of biblical theme we're going through, if Black Plague and all that shit comes back out in California and just wipes it off the map, I mean, 2,000 years ago, we would say it's God's vengeance judging them for what the
No,
fuck they're doing wrong. Like,
yeah, they had AIDS in biblical time too.
oh, Big Chris is here.
Yeah, I saw.
Got
Yeah.
Dave in
He
the
said,
chat.
Terminator's trash. Terminator.
Yeah, I mean, it's California is gonna face God's judgment. It's just, you know, and that sort of is like, you
That's
know,
where it
God,
all started for America going downhill, though, wasn't it? It's probably California. Like Silicon Valley is just like crazy land. Hollywood. I don't need to start on Hollywood.
yeah.
That's just, it's just Satan's playground.
Well, yeah, and especially because, you know,
Paedophilia gotta
like
be high
like
there.
people,
Human trafficking's got to be high there. Porn industry is just really.
well, and like people point out is, you know, California gave us Republican presidents for a while. Like it used to be a red state. That's where Reagan and Nixon came from, and like,
No.
yeah,
That's hard to believe, yeah.
One of them was Reagan was an actor. He was in
Yeah, I
like
know, I saw some
westerns and
stuff with
shit.
Reagan.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, think about how crazy that is. See, but that's the problem is essentially you have these crazy liberals that want to export the sort of California blueprint to everywhere else in America.
Yeah, you're not too far away from it, like New York.
Yeah, I'm in New York. I mean, even I'll tell you what. But here's the thing. Like, I'm in a weird position right now, and this is part of why I had to delete social media, because my stress level is just getting like through the roof. Because I have a really good job opportunity, but it's going to involve me leaving my one job that I really love. The pay isn't great, but I love it to death. Like, and my plan originally was to stay here for one more year and then move to Texas. Like, I already have a couple $1,000s saved up. I was just gonna bounce, because the thing that really, like, as silly as it may seem, but the thing that really pushed me over the edge, you know, you've had Cuomo come out and say, if you're pro-life and pro-gun, that's not who New Yorkers are, get out. So, all right, you already gave me the invite to leave. But then this whole vaping ban thing, where it's like, the fact that a state can just come in and, first of all, the whole issue is fear-mongering. It has nothing to do with nicotine products or the products I use. But the fact that the government can just come in and say, oh yeah, we're banning all of these things, but you can go back to smoking cigarettes if you want. Like, I was just like, fuck it. I need to get out of here. Like, this place is ridiculous. The taxes are too high. The pay rates for the cost of living here is too high. It's just, none of it makes sense. Now, it sucks because I am now offered a really good job opportunity where I probably could do the things I would like to do elsewhere and just do them here. But one of the things I have to look
Why
at...
don't you just do that decent job for a year? Because it's just a job anyway. That can be taken away from you at any point. A whim. So why don't you just do the job for a bit and just leave once that tanks?
I see, the thing is I could, but I think it depends, because the way it is, it's a supplement company that's a very small run business, but it's got products that are in like over 500 stores. The guy who's doing it wants to transition into writing books and giving speeches, so he thinks I can help with that because I have, you know, skills with new media and video editing and stuff like that. So I mean, I could really enjoy the work and help build the company. And he said, if we build it and take it to the next level, you know, your pay will be reflective of. So I mean, if things do go on that upward trajectory and I'm raking in the money, I might want to stick around if it pans out being very, very good. You know, if it's not just a job that someone else could easily step in on, and you know what I mean? So a lot of it's got to be played by ear. But the one thing I think of is like, all right, if I want to get a plot of land, set up, you know, basically do what Owen Benjamin is doing.
Yeah, Bulgaria, mate, Romania, Hungary.
Right?
Why are you laughing at that? Like,
No,
no
yeah,
one wants to
it's
fucking go.
it probably would be easier over there than anywhere else, because I'll tell you the thing that drives me crazy in New
So a
York.
property in Bulgaria, 3 or 4 grand. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of garden space.
Well, let me tell you the thing that drives me crazy about
3 or 4 grand.
About New York. We used to have a garage at the end of our driveway, and like every other garage, including my neighbor's currently, the roof starts falling in, it starts falling apart, and at a point my mom says, all right, well, we're not using it for anything except to, you know, store tools in and, you know, a handful of odd things. So
Well, just let it fall.
well, we knocked it down basically. We
Okay.
you know, had them knock it down and take it all away. And then my mom's solution was, all right, well, we'll just go to Home Depot, buy a little $150 pop-up plastic shed to store all the tools in, and you and your uncle can put it together on a Saturday. So I spent a Saturday with my uncle putting together this little pop-up plastic shed that, if there were no tools in it, I mean, oh, the wind would blow it away. Like, it's nothing big, or you know, it's like literally just a little plastic box to put the shit in.
So thieves could just literally pick it up and just run down the road.
Oh my god, that'll be the next story, because don't, oh my god, you will not even believe this shit right now, Paul. I'm basically living in the middle of a crime wave, petty crime wave, but crime wave nonetheless. So we put this thing up, and then within the first week of it being up, we get a citation from the city saying we didn't
Oh,
get
right. You need planning permission.
we didn't
What?
get a building permit for the little pop-up plastic rinky-dink like as if it's a building. Like, I mean, this thing is like, I mean, it's the size of like a kid's toy set, like with a slide built on. Like, you know the things I'm talking about. The
But
little.
what about the environment, Jamie?
I mean, once that happened, I was like, this is ridiculous. I said, they're going to want more money for that fucking permit than this thing costs. And I've seen that over and over. I saw it with a friend of mine. His parents passed away. He inherited a house. There were 2 cars in the driveway. City gives him a notice. You can't have, you know, unlicensed, unregistered cars in the driveway. You have to pull them out onto the street. He pulls them out onto the street. The next day, they send the tow trucks and say, you can't have unregistered cars on the street. Now we can tow them. Because the thing was, they can't tow them off his private property.
I don't live in America, guys. This is just stuff I saw on the internet. But I've seen people get fucked for just collecting rainwater. I've seen people get fucked for having a lemonade stall, like a 5-year-old at a lemonade stall. I've seen it all.
See, and those are the decisions that factor into the, if I'm going to get a plot of land and some gardening, I don't want to have to fill out a fucking permit form if I want to pop up a fence
I think
one
you are in
day.
Texas, bro. I hate to spoil it to you, but Texas is just... the Californians are just moving to Texas, and they're just going to bring their craziness to Texas.
Big Chris says, I live in Arizona and Californians are moving in and wrecking my state. I want to move to Alaska or something. I know, buddy. Alaska's been looking good. And you know what the thing is I guarantee you they're just going from California to Arizona because it's another weed state.
Where can you go in California? Half it's burning, the other half's got plague. So where are you going to go? Texas?
No, half of it's burning. And the same part of it is, you know, all homeless and plague. And then there's the part where it's like, if you're not raking in millions a year, you just can't afford to live there.
Right. Well, they're doing that in London. People are actually living in these pods now.
Yeah, I saw that. So anyway,
I live in a pod, guys, but I mean, come on. I'm not
anyway, let's talk about this. So you know how I live down the road? Are you on Xbox One? If yes, 1v1 and I'm trash. I need to get better.
I'm on Xbox One, but I'm a racing kind of guy. I'm like full on motorsport. I had to give it up because I was so addicted.
Marshmallow
If you want
12.
to race.
Yeah, add me. I don't know what game you're talking about as far as 1v1. Maybe it says I'm playing a game now. Sometimes Mixer
Yeah.
says I'm playing things where I'm not. Or
You'll find me on Jamie's friends. I'm obvious.
or you're on Twitch, but yeah, my gamer tag is JAMIESTARRMUSIC or something. Add me. I'm down to play. Whenever I have time. It's generally late at night. Mortal Kombat 11. Yeah, sure. I need to hop online there anyway. I think I need to earn shit that way. Anyway, so, you know, Paul, actually, I went downstairs before I left for work last night, and my niece was playing, was it WRC5? I was so blown away. I was so blown away that, like, a 13-year-old girl is down there playing, like, a racing sim. Like, I thought it was, like, the coolest thing. But then I was just like, well, I mean, she did kind of grow up around me, so her being a little oddball, I guess, makes sense. So anyway... You know how I live like a block away from one of the top liberal arts colleges in the country? Well, guess what? There was a holdup in there where people went into one of the townhouses, tied up and gagged two of the college students, and then robbed the shit out of them. I mean, it's like...
What do they need to tie them up for?
Huh? I don't know. You probably don't even have to. You could probably just say... fall over, or you probably could have just misgendered one of them and they would have gone into such a tizzy they wouldn't have noticed you stealing their shit. But I mean, so there's that. 2 houses down.
There are only 2 genders.
Yeah, 2 houses down, we had a crazy amount of cops coming in because this house that no one lives in has become a housing facility for bums and dope fiends. So, I mean, let me tell you, if there's a house where no one lives in and it's not boarded up, someone's living in it. That's just your default, you should assume.
We had that on my road. Like, I live on a quiet road. Like, this is England. And a guy I was hanging around with, he's from New York, funnily enough. And I've not seen this before, but I saw this unmarked Land Rover. I was like, dude, they're fucking armed cops. Because none of our, I don't know if you know, none of our cops have anything.
Yeah.
Taser, don't have some have pepper spray.
They have rainbow flags.
Yeah, that's all they've got. So we saw them. They all had their guns like this, and we walked down the road, and they were outside a house like this, just like talking to each other on bikes. And my mate's from New York, and he was like, "Get your finger off the trigger." And it's got a point. Like, our cops are like this. It's like, because they're not used to guns.
Yeah.
Look at the gun on it. And he was like, "Get your finger off the trigger," and the cops are like going to arrest him. It's like, you've got your gun up, the barrel's at head height, and you got your finger on the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, do you not know anything about guns? What the hell wrong with New York
Yeah.
accents? Like, what? Like, put them here. If you don't, like, what's the emergency? They should be here. Bang.
Yeah,
Bang.
I remember when I went out shooting with friends, once I handed them one of the guns and I was
he used to be in the
pointing it
military,
forward
so
and they were like, point that shit down. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right.
the
This
cops
thing has
are like,
bullets in it.
Yeah, what's you got to do if you? It's like, even African military have more respect than you.
Yeah.
Like, that looks really confrontational, A. B, it's dumb to have your finger on the trigger unless you're in an episode. B, your barrel's in the air. This gun was not loaded. It's like, doesn't matter. Bad habit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I'm military, so then tell me I don't know my guns, boy. Who you talking to, boy? It's like, probably. And the other good quote he came up with was he couldn't get anything to eat, and he was going, no wonder Gordon Ramsay's effing and blinded all the time. Food in England is shit.
That's
like,
disappointing.
Yeah, right.
Fish and chips is one of my favorite meals.
Yeah, Sunday rice.
So all right. So we got homeless people living in the house next door. My sister has had the kids' bikes stolen out of the backyard, which we have a fence around, so obviously people just let themselves in. Numerous times, we've had to tell bottle bums, if you want to go through the recycling, wait till it's put out. Don't come on our fucking porches. My front porch, because years ago our front porch was hit by someone in a car who was drag racing down the road and lost control of their vehicle. Yeah. And then they just drove off. No, they just drove off. I somehow slept through the whole thing. I woke up like Donnie Darko. I woke up and I'm like, why is my house covered in caution tape? what happened? Like, and they're like, oh, someone crashed into the house. I said,
Jamie, the
what?
man of the house.
What? They crashed into the house and I slept through it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Um, so now our porch is, all sorts of warped and, from the weather and it getting hit, and then we're only fixing the one part. So the porch is about to collapse. My concern at this point is one of these assholes is going to be on our porch because we had the kids' scooters now this week stolen from the front porch. My concern is one of these assholes is going to come on the front porch, steal some shit. The whole porch is going to collapse in on them, and then they're going to end up suing us. They're going to sue us because they got injured in the process of robbing us. I mean, I was telling my...
got a previous for the shed.
I was telling my one boss about that, and she said just put up a no trespassing sign. That should be... That will, void your responsibility.
Rubble, won't it?
Huh?
It'll just be under a pile of rubble.
Hopefully. I mean, that's... Yeah. That'd be so great. I wish I could like plant like a booby trap or something. Like someone goes on the porch to try to steal one of my nieces or nephew's bikes, and they just fall in. We got an area under the porch. If I close it off, I could keep alligators under there. Generally, it's just feral cats and kittens, but
yeah, you're gonna have to have like castles. We have to like
yeah. I mean, it is insane. Like the amount of petty theft. Like I have to keep telling my
friend. Yeah, in England they don't investigate petty theft anymore.
Yeah.
Time because we got to look at racist toddlers and mean tweets.
See, I'll tell you what. In New York, we at least have it. Like a friend of
racist toddlers is a thing now. There's a public service announcement with these kids going. Black kid in cartoon isn't sharing a toy with some like other kid. It's like. Racism starts with toddlers. It's
oh my god.
Guys, where's my TV? Like,
see,
I got burgled ages ago. Where the fuck is my TV?
I can gladly say we at least have...
toddlers. We knocked on someone's door because he sent a hurtful tweet. But now you can be arrested in the UK for hurting someone's feelings. There are police public service announcements going, has someone said something to you? You don't even need evidence. Just report it if someone's hurt you.
See,
like I'm gonna get reported non-stop.
I can say in New York, thankfully, we have the opposite going on with our police. Like a friend of mine told me a story this week. I just found out we have a recreational marijuana dispensary an hour and a half away from us in Massachusetts. So you can just drive an hour and a half and you go to a shop and buy weed, and you have options. They can't advertise the sales online, but you can stock up and buy shit. And, it's probably a little bit more than your local dealer. But, if you want to buy it from a fancy shop, knock yourself out. So a friend of mine he's on his way back driving home. Him and his husband or whatever are smoking in the car together. A cop pulls them over. He's like, guys, are you all right to drive? They're like, yeah, we're fine to drive. Said, do you know why I asked you that? He's like, yeah, because it smells like a bunch of weed in here. He's like, all right, well, if you're all right to drive, it's fine. No one really cares about this anymore anyway. I just wanted to make sure you two were good. And that's really how the cops are.
We didn't drive, guys, by the way.
Yeah, but the cops really don't care about marijuana at this point. Like, I would
have busted through them for that, and I smoke weed.
It's been decriminalized to a point where like they just
you can drive though. That's a bit.
I know. I feel that's the whole reason I don't drive. Not that I don't think I can handle a car. Everyone else terrifies me. But it's like, so there's that. Now my neighbor's a cop. He's very libertarian. Just in general, I've always got that vibe from him when he's home. He's not a police officer. He's just a dude with a kid and a wife, and he is just doing dude things, like tearing out his kitchen and putting in new shit and, rebuilding something and, having worked on the... Buys me. But it's like, so... What the hell? Did I just have a delay on myself? I just heard myself in my brain?
I did that.
Oh my god. Wow.
I did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, the NSA is just tapped into our phone. What is
We
that?
just trapped into the Mandela place.
Yeah,
2001.
yeah. So anyway, you know, he's said before outright, like, my concern is dope and guns. And the thing is about the dope ties into all of this petty crime because it's people that will steal whatever they can get their hands on to try to sell it to get their next fix. Like, you know, some of the bottle bums, that's what they're getting their bottles for and everything else. And it's like, but the thing is like, they look at that as being detrimental to the community. Like, your pothead, they're not, the only community they're causing a problem for is the snack aisle in 7-Eleven needing to get restocked. Like, they're not robbing anyone's bikes or anything like that. They are just, you know, they're not even bothering
In
it.
England, it's just like everything's a monoculture because now we're so diverse and integrated. It's like just so wonderful. Like you just get on my road, you've got a Polish shop, then you get a Transylvanian shop, then you get a Romanian shop, then you get an Indian shop, then you get. It's just like it is literally like Star Wars when they're in that cafe.
Yeah.
And if you go in there and speak English, it's like you're an outcast. They're like, "How double dare you?" And it's like, guys.
Well,
It's
I'll
just
tell
so
you
bad,
what.
man.
My area isn't that bad
The
with
Indians
that.
are alright. Like some cultures, I suppose.
That I was
all
gonna
Indians
say.
are
I shop at one store every day, and the Indian family that runs it are the nicest people
yeah.
I've ever met. They are so
It's
good to
getting
me.
crazy now. It's because we used to check when people used to come in. It's like there needs to be some kind of because now we're just getting whatever coming in now, and there's no point them like learning the culture, learning the English. Because my mate came here. We were talking on Facebook. He wants to be in a band and happened to be coming from Poland to Southampton. I thought, oh, that's nuts. Let's hang out. And I was telling him how bad it is here. He was going, oh, you're exaggerating. You're exaggerating. I goes, right. We'll go out for a beer when you get here. We'll go for a walk. I bet you meet Polish people. You know, I fucking bet it on my road in England. You know, he's like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. We went out for 3 hours. He met 3 people, you know, from fucking Poland.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's worse. He said he went back home. So there's too much. Like he's like, just before Eastern Europe collapsed right on this road. He's like, you're right. It's fucking insane. And it's like the Polish people are lying to you. Like they don't give a fuck about your country because that's how Poland fell. If they gave a fuck about England, don't you think Poland would be in a great place right now?
Yeah.
It's,
See,
yeah,
I'm just relatively antisocial. I knew I had to get out of New York when there was one day I went to New York City. I was going to help a friend of mine. She's actually this rah feminist, you know, manifest your dreams with meditation crystals. She speaks at the UN, her mom. But here's the thing. Her family, her mom actually came here from Kenya. So, I mean, she's very pro-America in a lot of ways, but also very social justice-y, but she doesn't hate America. She knows she's blessed to be here. So I get along good with her. You know, we have our disagreements. Her brother's really cool, shoots music videos and stuff like that. Anyway, I take the train down to the city. I show up in Grand Central Station. I walk out of Grand Central Station. Now, mind you, New York City, one of the busiest cities in the world, the most congested, crowded, you know, just people everywhere. It smells like shit because of how many people are just crammed into this little nest. I walk out of Grand Central Station and first thing I hear is, hey, Jamie. I'm looking, I'm like, this can't be happening. This cannot be happening. And sure enough, I walk out and there's just someone I know walking up by and I'm like, what are the fucking odds? Like, New York City used to be the place I went to hide. Like, where I was just a face in the crowd. Like, no one knew me. I was just there amongst all the, you know, travelers and sightseers and everything else. And I could just, you know, I mean, in my hometown, God, I can't go out anywhere without running into someone I know. But New York City used to be my safe little area. And then it's like, next thing I know, I'm done. Let's see, I deliver pizzas. Most annoying thing about East Indians is they only tip $2, $6 order or $50 or $2. Huh?
Totally fucking weird. Just to ruin it all. You not see that picture NASA put out of the sun looking like a pumpkin on Halloween? You not seen that? You gotta see. It's like, how can you fucking take this shit? It's like, it made the sun.
Oh no! Let me go back to one of my points where I was saying I think Adobe is a branch of the government. So yeah, the voice print technology, right? So they had that, but NASA, the whole reason NASA's been able to pull off this con for so long is because they've had Photoshop for a good, I don't know, 20, 30 years before everyone else. If you look at their pictures of Mars, all it is like photos of a desert with like the RGB levels all fucked with to have that red tint. Like, remember forever they told us Mars was a red planet? Now next thing,
moon's in our atmosphere now somehow.
Now next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, there might be forests and water on Mars, and it's like, what happened to it being red?
Can you see the stars? Fuck knows.
Yeah, it's all ridiculous, and that's one of the things about the lies that
I love it at Congress where they try and get their budget, and the guy is just like, what are you guys doing with the money? And it's like, well, obviously we're trying to get to Mars. Like, when are we going? And it's like, well, where are we going next? It's like, what do you mean by next? He goes, as in, what's your? I'm not explaining next to you. Where the hell are you going? He's going, well, obviously we're going to go to the moon. It's like, okay, when?
See, I'll tell you, that's the illustrates the perfect problem with government. You know, there are things where, like,
they're not buying it. Like, I don't understand, like, this guy in Congress who gets the budget is not impressed by NASA.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
You know, it's like, there's this problem.
I think Trump is trolling Buzz Aldrin.
What? I was gonna say that the clip Owen shows all the time with Buzz Aldrin being like,
go to the moon, and the Buzz like, no, we're not.
No, we're not. Yeah, that was one of the funniest things, and even the whole idea that Space Force is a giant trolling thing, like that cracks me up. But it's like, you know, part of the problem is like when government, see, now I do agree with the thing where like NASA was catching so much heat that's why they privately, you know, started doing the things. But realistically, if they were a private business and they had to answer to their shareholders, I mean, like, you would not want that to go public with like an IPO because no one would be investing in that.
Yeah, what happened to Richard Branson's great plan of galactic flight?
Yeah, Virgin Galactic. No. And see,
Elon Musk gave up. We're going to the moon. Looks like we're not. I'm just gonna send some dude in a car.
And this was going to be my other point, is that a lot of the lies that everyone...
I think Elon Musk is retarded. Like, everyone loves me. I think it's just fuck. I've never heard the guy say anything intelligent.
Yeah.
I think it's just an actor.
Although, no.
Everyone likes him. Like, I like him. Like, I would...
Hold on. But there is something. There's a really funny clip. Who is it? Did you ever see the clip of... who was showing this?
Neil deGrasse Tyson's got 3 rape allegations against the guy. He's like some main scientist. And like,
did you ever see... I want to say it's the top guy at like Yahweh or Alibaba or one of those big Chinese like billionaires. But there's like a meeting of like where they sat down Elon Musk and like the founder of Alibaba or something, and like it's just the funniest thing you could watch because neither of them are saying anything, but they both think they're saying like the most groundbreakingly intelligent things like ever. Like it's like that guy I was talking about.
I think Mark Zuckerberg is actually plugged in. Like those black eyes are creepy.
Yeah.
It's like surely you'd pass up the eyes with that black. Like that can't be just drugs. How like it's just like massive pupils. It's like bro. There's a couple like I think Alex Jones is on something that.
Yeah.
Black eyes.
Yeah, with Silicon Valley just microdosing like LSD like drugs that we've never even heard of.
That's not LSD, man. But they might have a brain chip in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. because again, you know, if these technologies were available,
Brain
you'd
chips
think.
aren't real. Have you seen Mark Zuckerberg in the last 10 years?
I was human. I mean, I am human. Yeah, he says all sorts of crazy shit where
Hillary's
you're like,
reboot. Hillary's went
maybe that,
down.
I was gonna say maybe that's what Hillary was. Maybe when she was doing that twitchy shit, someone hit the reset button on her. She had to
one of the bots.
reboot. Yeah, maybe that's the real Russian bots. Hillary Clinton,
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg, you know, all of them. They could be the actual
Trump
Russian
with
bots.
Obama and his giant scar. You know.
Oh man.
I
But
mean, might have had an up. Just saying.
but yeah, it's I don't even know.
Kanye West is heading a Drudge with a giant crucifix.
Huh?
Check out Drudge. You'll like that.
I probably will.
I mean, it's literally like in the news, they're talking about how cool it'd be to eat humans. Why don't we give that a go?
Yeah, some
You
of
got fucking that dumb bitch. Who's that Sandra Bullock who literally puts cut penises on her face to look younger?
Kanye Flock praises Christ. Amazing. See, now the thing I was saying before is, you know, you had Ann Coulter do this interview where she had mentioned the problems with conservative ink and all this. See, I feel like this has been brewing.
It's been brewing.
Like Owen has been brewing this, Nick Fuentes has been brewing this, a lot of these people, and now you've just had Kanye, who's like this mainstream figure. Like Kanye was doing these interviews where a lot of the things he was saying were just like, you know, when he said the thing where he was like, and again, it's like, you know, he says a lot of things in the moment that make him sound very arrogant. But now he's been in the game so long enough that now he's saying the same things that I feel like years ago would have made him sound arrogant. But because he's talking about what he's done, it sort of all makes sense. Like when he comes out and he says, you know, I was the one that came out and said, you know, you got all these niggas in hip hop that are in the closet and, you know, on the down low, we should stop gay bashing in our lyrics. We should stop saying faggot. We should stop. He said, I started that. I was the one that said, you know, we need to stop all the gay bashing. We have gay fans, this and that. We should, you know, stop all the hating and all of this, you know, whatever. And he says, and then I put out a song where I say Chick-fil-A, and next thing you know, now the LGBTQ whatever people want to boycott and ban me. He said, what the fuck? He said, oh, are you afraid this is going to hurt your career? I'm only afraid of God.
Man, it is big.
Huh?
Owen Benjamin's fucking huge. Like people on my Facebook, like, I don't like him. It's like, go on Google, type in Owen Benjamin and see the traffic.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you what, though. You know what is another good indicator is the trend search for when that one guy was asking Charlie Kirk, you know, when you were at Israel, did you see any Jews dancing? I hear they have some really great dance moves, this and that. Yeah. Google dancing Israelis. Boom. Like the search results for that probably popped more from that one clip than when that video was actually released last year.
Dancing Israelis is just a fascinating story. It's not anti-Semitic. It's not. I mean, I'm a Grabler, guys. It's not anti-Semitic. Like, it's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Never really. It is explained. Like, it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, and the thing people don't get is, you know, this whole.
You can't rip into a Grabler, dude.
I can't do it,
and I am a Grabler.
And the thing I was going to say is, well, and I've noticed you've always had this sort of defense. Oh, real quick statement, just because what we were saying before about neighborhoods and everything like that. In my local town, when I was growing up here, there were two groups of people, whites and blacks. Like when you went to school, there was a table of Hispanic kids, and it was maybe 5 guys and 3 girls. Now, the majority of Main Street is Hispanic businesses. Like, they have their own grocery stores, the Mexicans, at this rate. Like, the whole concept that illegal immigration hurts blacks the most, I've watched it happen in my local town over my lifespan. Like, black businesses are being just pushed out by Mexicans because Mexicans will support Mexicans. Blacks have this crabs in a barrel mentality where they don't want to support each other because they have that liberal mindset of, if I give him money, I'm making him rich and making myself poor. Like, they don't see it as a fair bargain. So they won't ever want to uplift anyone else out of the bucket. They're always trying to pull each other back down in. So that's just my quick little remark on that. But the other thing is, whether it's black crime that no one wants to talk about, shady Jewish people doing whatever. Like, again, this whole idea, like, the not all Muslims are terrorists, not all blacks are criminals, not all Jews are bankers, or whatever. Like, this whole idea.
In America, by the looks of it,
right? Or they're running Hollywood.
1% of your population, and they own everything.
Yeah.
They do extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
For 1% of the population. And then, like, my mum giggles at it. It's like, I did the Benjamin sketch. It's like, us guys have been kicked out of 119 countries or something. It's like if Bob gets kicked out of 10 pubs. It's like, Bob, why are you getting kicked out of all these pubs? It's like, because they victimized me. It's like, Bob, what are you up to?
Right? Yeah.
You've been kicked out every single pub, Bob.
Yeah,
because they victimized me because the way I look and my beliefs. It's like, Bob, were you dishing out porn in the pubs?
And that's one of the things.
Doing usury tricks.
With what we were saying earlier about Kanye and
running a casino in there.
Kanye and the Playboy and the porn thing. Again, very interesting to think of. Porn industry in America, Jewish roots.
If I say this thing, I can actually be arrested just for that joke.
Yeah.
It is pretty hard. Like, that's what the Brexit are. Like, I don't want to do politics because I think the world's up to, I think politics is all a lie. Like, 9/11's a lie, nuclear bombs are a lie, space is a lie. No one cares. But the route they're going down is anti-Semitic against the party. It's like, well, anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitic. It's like, this is literally Israel. Might as well.
Well, see, and what the thing is again, I don't even want to.
And Boris is full on Israeli. That's no secret. Didn't he spend like a decade?
Yeah. See, I agree with what Owen says about Trump, though, where it's not that Trump is as much pro-Israel as Trump is pro whoever's pro him. Like, like if he wants to do X, Y, and Z, and Israel is like, oh yeah, we're cool with you doing X, Y, and Z, then he's like, Israel is great, they're the best, they're gonna support me doing my plan, and I support them being Israel. Like, he's just
Trump's proper gangster.
Yeah, that's what it is.
His line, just kids, what's his line? Trump's a gangster. It's like, you have to be a gangster to be president of the United States.
Well, remember when I gave my little analogy about the show Gotham and the Iran weapons deal? How I was explaining that to a friend of mine, where I was like, think about what we're being told here, where it's like Obama made the agreement with them, but he didn't get to check the weapons. And this, I said, it's like an episode of Gotham where you have like the Penguin and Riddler and all the bad guys with their warring gangs. And it's like, oh, well, we agreed to the arms deal with this one, but he didn't get to check the weapons. So I got to come in and this, like, yeah, it's warring mobsters, basically. Like when you get down into what they're really talking about and you leave the rhetoric and flowery words aside, it's like, all right, I'm going to check this nigga's guns, and if he don't come correct, then I ain't selling him any more guns. And like,
well, my battery's nearly going, so before we go, the only thing that's of interest is Germany declares a Nazi emergency. And a lot of people are growing moustaches around Germany, apparently.
Well, see, now here's the thing I was going to say that I don't want to have to say. Now, with what I was...
If I get cut, I get cut. But
yeah.
We'll have to get together during a week about what we need to do, like, moving forward.
Yeah, we'll do that in private and not broadcast it, and we'll do our plotting and scheming and our grabblering. Remember, I used to celebrate Hanukkah in my youth, so I got some Jew tendencies.
Yeah, when are you going to come down to the UK anyway, you dumb?
who knows? If the way things are looking, it's looking like I'm gonna have a good job that will give me vacation time and good enough pay to be able to do it.
Kick
So
your parents off, visit you.
that could work too.
Yeah, man.
I've thought about that, where it's like, see, here's the thing: is my sister was supposed to be moving out. Obviously, with her, plans are always subject to change. But if she did, then there would have been a spare bedroom, and you could have just stayed
Yeah,
here.
so I want to just test the water to see if I can get in, see how strict they are.
But anyway, so let me make this point real quick. You know, with what I was saying
I
about
might be coming to America, guys. I'm not coming back either.
with what I was saying about a hold on one second. People are peering through my doorway.
Probably robbing something.
I'll text you. So what I was saying before about, you know, someone coming after Trump. My concern, and I don't want to sound like
Jamie, I think they're going to impeach him. I think they've got it.
they might try, but again,
It's like,
that's
like everyone's like, oh, but he didn't do anything. It's like you can indict a hand sandwich. We all
Yeah.
know that saying.
Yeah.
They're gonna get him.
but I mean the backlash to that is gonna be horrible.
That's the whole point.
Now again, this might factor into what I'm about to say that I don't even want to say out loud, but it's the way it's going, like you said, with this whole anti-Semitism, like there is no anti-Semitism. I don't know what these people are fucking talking about. Like this rise of Nazism. There's rise of there's rise of nationalism, but even at the rise of nationalism, all it is like, hey, maybe we're giving too much money to Israel. Maybe we should stop letting in all these Mexicans.
No, I just think that the answer is you can't have dual citizenship and be in the White House. Just have it at that.
That I agree with too.
If Israel's that great, go to Israel. It's fine. Go.
Yeah.
You can be an American, have to. I don't understand what dual citizenship even means.
Yeah, well, and even Ann Coulter said we have these Republicans with this sycophantic, you know, Israel love, and it's like you just don't.
In English, it's the same. We've got friends of Israel, like all our prime ministers come out of that.
Yeah, at some point it just doesn't make sense. Where it's like, why do you love this place more than every other place, including the place you're supposed to represent?
To be honest, guys, I don't care about it. Like I just don't have a dog in that race.
Yeah, it's to me.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, to me,
it just seems to dominate a lot.
Yeah, to me, it's no different with Israel, Egypt, Africa, China, Japan. Well, it's another country. Like, to me, that's all there is to it. But now the thing is that I was going to say, you know, we're going to end up after Trump with a Pence-like figure that's going to be like, I'm going to bring the Bible back. We're not banning it from schools anymore. They'll be allowed to teach it. I think there will be in politics a Christian resurgency. Now, will the powers that be try to prevent it from getting to where it'll be and everything? Now, just imagine this. If you do have them impeach Trump, the people that support him and the nationalist America First agenda will become more radicalized. That is safe to say. If we're already looking at having this Christian resurgency and everything like that, we very well could end up with a Hitler-esque figure, and I'm going to acknowledge that, you know, the stories we've heard of him, the winners write history, and everything like that.
Hitler's a very you could just do a whole week's podcast.
Oh yeah, and just digging into. Well, yeah, I saw an interesting clip actually. Charles Manson, of all people, came out with this really interesting quote where he said, "I had a Jewish cellmate," he said, "and Hitler was like his father." He said,
yeah, because he did that well.
He said something like,
Holocaust means burnt offering.
Yeah, sacrificial offering. It's a sacrificial burning, which it's a sacrificial burning in Hebrew. That's that you could do a podcast in and of itself delving into that and why they view it like that.
I've already done a lot on that. Like Redemption through 1666 is a great book, and it's only like a couple of pages.
But Manson talks about his Jewish cellmate's view on Hitler as being like a father-like figure, where there's that authoritative fear, but still that sort of like he needs him there. He needs him there in order to have that figure to drive him and motivate him and keep him in line and everything like that. Whereas like it's just so interesting where he's like, yeah, it was like Hitler was like his father or something. I mean, I mean, then again, this could be also insight into what Charles Manson's relationship with his dad was like. But still very interesting that he said that there is this sort of like fearful respect and admiration, and like he needed him there in order to have that figure. I mean, realistically, America was brought together over Osama bin Laden after 9/11. Jews get brought together.
That even America got involved in World War II. It doesn't really make too much sense.
No, not at all.
It honestly just doesn't. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done. I'm just saying it just doesn't make much sense.
But I'm saying when you have, this sort of
because they blew up, they did some false flag and blew up some tourists that had weapons under the boat or something.
I don't know,
Wasn't that what kicked it off?
but when you have this whole like just ADL and Anti-Defamation League and what's the other one, SPLC or whatever, when these groups are
when you have
running amok and commanding tech censorship and all of this other stuff, and you start to dig into, well, who is in Hollywood, who is in this area, who is in the banking, who is in this one, and there's that common thread where you go to the top layers and you're like, oh, Jew, like, if that gets called out for what it is, and they say we need to remove this influence, whether they call it by its name or not, that was one of the big things Owen.
What does Jew mean? Like, I don't even know what it means, because most Jews I know are atheists.
Yeah.
I actually
well, see, and Owen,
not that many that
when Owen first started getting into this,
just Owen describes it. People can just use it as a badge.
Yeah.
Protection. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a shield from the criticism and consequence to their actions. But one of the things that Owen would point out is he would say, all these
you have to buy into it too. They're not doing anything that you're not inviting in. Like all of it is inviting in the vampire.
Oh yeah, you sign on to your loan.
It was like, I'll take it, and then bang, trap.
Yeah, I mean the housing collapse. It's like
say no.
Everyone wants to say the bank screwed them on the housing collapse. You were offered a contract. You signed the contract.
Yeah, exactly.
Your student loan debt. You're offered a contract. You signed the contract.
You watch it.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's vampiric in that nature, where it's like
give them the transgender drugs. You give them to the kids.
Yeah.
I imagine you don't get much porn in Israel. I imagine you don't get many transgender kids. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I doubt it. Well, I mean, I definitely doubt it, because isn't Israel's population booming?
Banking epicenter in Israel.
Isn't Israel almost hitting a 4% replacement rate or something? Like they say, replacement rate is like 2.5 kids. Israel's average is like 4 at this rate.
They're not putting out that feminism crap out there.
Yeah, Israelis are multiplying like Mexicans at this rate, from what I've heard.
It'll be the Mexicans next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Owen Benjamin's giving them the secrets away to the Mexicans, and now you're all screwed.
Well, that's Amy's influence. She's got that one stray Mexican on her side of the family. But one of the things Owen did that I really liked, and again, it's he stopped playing the game that all these other people do who don't have the balls to name names, where he would say that we know their names. Like you don't have to say the media, the GOP, the left wing, the right wing, Hollywood. They have names. Name the people. Don't just give them this cloak, this blanket, term to say, oh, well, the bankers. Which bankers? Who are they? The elites. Who? Which elites? Like, name them by name. Quit playing the game. See, but then the thing is, it gets uncomfortable when you're like, oh, Weinstein, something Smith. Like all these names that sound like beer vessels and precious metals and stuff, and
Yeah, well, back in New York, when us immigrants arrived there, like my family, first thing they did was they would change their name.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so noticeable it was Jewish, just to blend in. And that's like my family did that. Like I used to be Levitsky on Levi's.
Yeah.
So a lot of the names are going to be like it was like 3 generations ago now.
Yep.
So blend. So I don't know.
Oh, can I say though, just while I got you on the line before your phone dies and everything like that, you want to know who's crushing in Britain right now? Piers Morgan. I have a newfound respect for Piers
Oh,
Morgan.
don't fuck that guy.
Because I'll tell you what, he seems to be the only one over there questioning the
It's also
transmania. I have been
yeah,
seeing.
but is he really? I don't know. It's just like I just think it's like you know how I feel about everything. It's like it's just all
Yeah,
nonsense. I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing, sort of
But no,
like.
he has to put some good tweets out there.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing, and I could just say, because again, I haven't seen that much of it. I've just been seeing the couple selected
He
videos
had
that
to
pop up
flee
in
to
my
America
YouTube.
because he hacked a dead kid's phone.
Yeah, well, and then he had to basically flee back because we were like, we don't want your
Alex
fucking
Jones, I
British
know.
ass. Like, I mean, when you have everyone from Alex
That was
Jones.
the best TV in history in the last 10 years,
Yeah,
actually.
it was. I was thinking about that the other day. But when you have Alex Jones and Ben
Mao took the
Shapiro
guns.
both.
Hitler's took the guns. If you want to take the guns, 1776,
Well,
welcome in.
see, the thing I
Do
think
you
is even
understand?
funnier
I
is
memorized in my head.
I think it's even funnier you
Right,
had
well,
you.
night all. I'm dead.
All right, well, I'll finish out my
I'll
point.
catch you in a week then.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Paul. Um,
Carry
so
on so I can watch.
okay. So to just finish out my point. Oh my God, I'm hanging up on you because this is getting crazy. Goodbye. Um, so maybe he's still listening. It just says the camera's off. Who knows what's going on? Oh my God. Hang up. Okay. So, the thing I was going to say was, you had Alex Jones do this interview with Piers Morgan, and then after Alex Jones does his interview, you then had Ben Shapiro on, who, I mean, those two, it's so funny because Joe Rogan has said that, he'd like to get those two to hang out together because in actuality, they probably have more, in common than either of them would like to admit to, as far as, being pro-Constitution and everything like that. But Ben Shapiro wrecked him on the same issue in the same, like, to the same extent Alex Jones did. Alex Jones, of course, was very bombastic and over the top. Come to take the gun, 1776. Oh my God, I can't even. I need to pick up smoking again if I'm going to do an Alex Jones impression. God. But Alex Jones, 1776 will commence again, and all of that. And then it goes from Ben Shapiro being like, "Well, Piers, if you try to come and take the guns, and you got to buy the cough medicine, and the cough medicine is you need an ID to show it in the background checks." And Ben Shapiro just being Ben Shapiro. But yeah, then Piers gets run out. But I will say, in the same way that Owen Benjamin used to say he latched on to Jordan Peterson, where you have this world where nothing makes sense and everything is just nonsense, and you have to compartmentalize it all together, because if you try to hold even just 3 of these ideas in your head at the same time, you just go into cognitive dissonance, and that's the point of it, but none of it adds up. So when Piers Morgan is out here being like, well, I identify as a Noctis 2-spirit penguin and this and that, and people are fucking losing their minds. The same people being like, well, you have to respect everyone's identity and whatever they choose to identify. And there's 100 genders, and I don't know what any but 3 of them are, but I support them all, and everyone should get to choose them. And then Piers Morgan is like, well, I choose one. I choose penguin. And they're like, cancel him. Get him banned. Get him off of it. Like, because he's showing the insanity of it. Because it's like, realistically, what's the difference between Piers? I mean, you listen to him reading off some of these definitions of it's like, and it's such word salad where in order to define one of them, you have to reference 3 of the others. And it's like androgynous, asexual, 2-spirited, blah, blah, blah is different from the pansexual, trisexual bicycle list. Like, it's such word salad that none of it adds up, and when you're referencing other things to define the other things, then all of it eventually becomes meaningless. I mean, some of the things I've been seeing is just ridiculous, where you now have these trans activists saying any sexual preference besides pansexual is hate speech or hate choices or, you know, whatever, because basically the only morally good thing you can do is have sex with everyone. Another point we didn't cover, but it does tie into a lot of the stuff because we focused on the Christian angle. You know, and it ties into all this trans thing and the degeneracy and all of that stuff, is the you know, Charlie Kirk, like the Israeli thing, when he questioned, you know, why do you have such a hard on for Israel? And, you know, his response is, oh, well, you know, they're a country in the Middle East and LGBTQ hard on parades up and down the aisles and sucking cocks in the streets and, you know, circle jerk on my face and yay, Western culture, whatever. And everyone's like, what the fuck? You know, it's really interesting how you have these conservatives who, like, either they're the Bible type where they're like, I don't hate, you know, gays and lesbians and, you know, all the alphabet people. I just consider them sinners and I pray for them. And then you have it where these conservative ink people are basically, like, people have identified they're basically liberals 5 years too late. Like, all of the positions they're having. And I mean, I've had friends of mine say, well, this is what happens when all of the disaffected left-wingers and centrists come over to the right. They end up with these excuses like, well, why do we support Israel so much? And your response is because Israel supports gays? That has nothing to do with conservatism whatsoever. I mean, and there's, even at that, there's like just better ways to verbalize it and everything like that. And I mean, I am just at the point where it's like, I don't even want that. I don't know how this shit, how did people's, it has to tie into the porn thing because, you know, how did people's sex lives become such an integral part of politics? That's the real, like, mind-boggling part to me, where it's like, in what way, which again made it very interesting when Charlie is being grilled about degeneracy and culture, and he's up there sitting next to a gay man who's, you know, basically being like, well, I'm here and I identify as a Republican, so piss off. Like, it's like, what are you conserving? This isn't Christian values. This isn't anything like that. You know, again, if we want to live in a country where it's Christian influence, everything like that, but we all want to enjoy our freedoms, you know, privacy of your own bedroom, do whatever the fuck you want. Let's keep our sex lives out of the political conversations, though. Like, that's my stance on it. Like, I don't want to know, you know, if we're talking about gun rights, freedom of speech, any of that stuff, whether you're sucking cock or eating pussy, it's irrelevant. Like, it just shouldn't be in these conversations about public policy. Why have we invited the government so much into our bedroom that they are trying to use our bedroom activities to persuade us into parties and voting and things like that? Like, it really shows you how trapped in that, you know, sex mindset people are, that this nonsense has even gotten this far. I could have answered those questions. Charlie is just young. I don't even think he's just young. I think his only concern is money. Like, I really do. Like, because here's the thing is, you know, even like the fact that he brings up, you know, his defense of Israel is pride parades. Pride parades is the main point of contention when it comes to liberals, or when it comes to conservatives criticizing LGBTQ stuff. See, I don't know. He was caught off guard by some of it, but he's put out tweets where he's said, you know, breaking, Israel is, you know, the only country in the Middle East to have pride parades. And this, like, he's come out with scripted statements, basically, you know, saying things to the I'm not saying he's moral though. Well, all right. Maybe you're catching me off guard. Um, he's come out with statements basically saying the same things. Um, you can come out and say, I think it's important for us to support Israel because they are the only country in the Middle East that similarly reflects our values and freedom for people to live, their lives in the way they see fit. There's a rhetorical way to phrase that and to say what he's saying without it coming across to being like, well, I support Israel because, cocks in the streets and stuff like that. Because, again, that's what people identify with pride parades nowadays. Like, it is a mobile slew of debauchery. I mean, I went to New York City this year to cover the one. I still have tons of footage from it. And I will say, honestly, New York City's wasn't as bad as I expected. Like, the amount of people I saw that were close to naked, I could probably count on one hand. And I did get a really big kick out of the religious protesters because the things they were saying just made no sense whatsoever. I mean, you would think they were plants. You would think they were paid actors there to be there to rile people up because and it just shows you how unstable some of these alphabet people are, that it's like you could have every store in New York City with a rainbow something or other everywhere. I mean, I was swimming in rainbows. I don't ever want to see another one in my life. And just swaths of people, all sorts of cross-dressing, trans-dressing, whatever going on. And then you could have on a corner 7 people saying there's only 2 genders, God created man and woman, you need to repent. And you would just have mobs form around them being like mindless zombies, being like, get your hate out of here. Hate, 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 hate. It was like, if everyone could have paid them no mind, and it would have just, not made a bit of difference. And I mean, you really thought, I'm trying to remember the one sign. I mean, there were signs that just biblically, scripture-wise, didn't make any sense. Like Bible quotes that are very out of order. Love to have a conversation. Email me. Sure. Let me copy that. Yeah, man, I always love it when people that regularly view the show end up participating. That's how Paul came on board. Paul used to watch me do YouTube videos. He added me on Facebook. We started talking, and now I don't even want to do a show without him. Unless I'm bad mouthing a movie or something. So, got that copied. Alright. So, I think I'm going to get going because, like I said, this is my first day off in God knows how long. I mean, probably since, like, May. So, I have a million and one things I want to get done today. Everything from hair cutting to getting my garden in order for winter. Hopefully, there's some raspberries left out there for me because there was supposed to be a frost last night. I gotta get laundry done and hung outside. It is going to be a good day. And I've already been productive because I already did a podcast. So it's wonderful. All right, everyone. Have a good one. And hopefully, as far as I know, I'm free on Sundays now. So, I mean, it will kind of be my day to do my things that I need to do, and I got some music projects I want to work on because that's what really is driving me nuts. I've always said if I don't work on music, it's like I get stir crazy from not doing it. It's like therapeutic for me. But this definitely helps too because this is one of the things that's been been driving me nuts. Like I've been complaining to people. I used to get a paycheck from Google. We all know that's not happening anymore because 2016, these fucking we're driving vans into people and Islamic terrorism and algorithms and demonetizing and all that. So no more paychecks from Google, but I do still get royalty checks from music, and it's really aggravating when I just have money showing up for work I did 5 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything to continue this work and continue making these sums of money bigger. So Sundays are going to be my days to do that. I will have my podcast to hang out with everyone, though. So I'll catch everyone later. Anyone wants to leave comments about future video ideas and stuff like that? I know Paul's concocting ideas, and so, all right, have a good one, everyone.